Week 18 is here. Many teams are resting starters. Many teams are playing for a playoff spot, some for a division title. And it's our duty to find some winners on the underdog pick'em board and make some money for the last time this regular season. This is the Player Profiler Pick'em Power Hour starting now. Welcome back to the Player Profiler Pick'em Power Hour. We are your hosts, Ahaan, Rungta, and Trevor Tipton. For the first time in 2024, but the last time in this regular season, Trevor, we're coming off a crazy week. A lot of things clinched. Your 49ers have clinched the number one seed. So we'll get to see Sam Darnold, which would be fun against the Rams and Carson Wentz. I'm looking forward to that game personally. How was your new year, and what are you looking forward to in Week 18?
Yeah, first I want to say I deserved what I got for making pick'ems on the Patriots. Like, you have like one of the best headbands I've ever seen. So I got to give a little shout out to that. Zeke going under and a spot he should have Holtz barely going under, and then Zappy getting that one last pass when he couldn't throw all game the second half. So we're there. I'm actually excited for the Baltimore game. I think Baltimore's not going to lay down against Pittsburgh. They're just not going to do it. It's a division rival. They would love to be the ones that said, we gave Tomlin his first ever non-winning season. Like there's a little thing there now, right? I get Lamar's not in. There's some other stuff going. So I think that'll be a fun game. The other Saturday game really matters. We're going to talk about that, right? Like whoever wins that, if Jacksonville loses, they're in. The Rams seeding actually matters, even though they're starting wins, right? I wasn't sure what direction they're going to go. We just got news Devonta's out this week. Is this the week some of the superstars finally get going since fantasy is over, right? Does Diggs and AJ finally turn it on, as we get to the end here? And, of course, we got to end with, Miami and Buffalo. And, I wish Miami was healthy. They're just, it's go look at their injury list. There's like 27 people or something on it. It's a wild number.
Yeah, and I'm certainly looking forward to that AFC East game. But I'm definitely, like you said, looking forward to this Ravens game. At first, I had a little money on the books with Odell just in case he did play and chase those contract incentives, and then he gets ruled out, which is all fine. Yeah. But then you see that the Ravens are only small underdogs, and it makes sense because they're still at home, and some people forget that they were kicking ass in preseason, right? And this team is deep. It's a very good roster. Even when they play their backups, Tyler Huntley, shout out Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley, will get a shot to beat the Steelers and Mason Rudolph. It's going to be a fun game regardless of how that ends up. I'm personally also looking forward to Seahawks Cardinals just because the Kyler Murray vengeance story to end the season. But also, I have a future which needs Seattle to get one more win. I am scared about it because I think Arizona could definitely win this game. Not a big fan of Pete Carroll these days. But then also this Eagles-Giants game is kind of sneaky in terms of value, just because Tyrod Taylor, not the worst quarterback in the world if you want to target some pick'ems or some DFS stacks. So I think that's a sleeper game when it
What the heck is?
Can you hear me?
Now I can. Sorry, you cut out there.
Oh, it might have been me. Last week we are coming off a loss on Will Levis higher on passing yards because he got hurt in the second quarter. Other two picks in that entry hit would have been a nice little 3-piece hit to take us into Week 18, but. Regardless, short-term memory, we're going to find a way to get some winners on this board. Shout out Anthony. No underdog here in Michigan, but I'm here to help. What's up, Anthony? And what's up, JP? Trevor and Ahaan, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. Thanks for being with us. We're going to find some value on this board, and the underdog board keeps changing every few minutes, especially in a time like this. Week 18. Last night, we put up several leans, about 12 to 15 leans for the pick'em board on the underdog pick generator. So next season, if you're playing DFS, you want the DFS Dominator on the Player Profiler website, but you also get, with the DFS Dominator, our early leans for pick'ems every week so that you can build your entries before we even get on the show live on Fridays. Don't worry, for the playoffs, we will still be continuing the show, and we will be here every week of the playoffs to build entries for those primetime, those playoff games. And I'm still looking forward to the playoffs because if you've been an OG player profiler, I've been on pick'em shows before and been on betting shows before, and I've cooked more in the playoffs than I have all regular season. So I'm looking forward to doing that again. And if you want more betting content as well, check out later on Friday nights The Juice with Memphis Young. But Trevor, it's time to cook. I feel like it would be the most us thing to do to sweep the board on freaking week 18. Let's get it started. Where are you headed on the underdog board for week 18?
All right, we're gonna do some friends of the show this year. We're just gonna stay on brand. I almost did an all kicker pick'em board this week just to give you a shout out. For those, if you're a little newer listening, Ahaan is the kicker whisperer, and there's some value actually. But we're going to start with Saturday night, and we're going with the cover 3 killer CJ Stroud. And how do we want to attack this? Because where do I think the best value is? And we're going over 17.75 fantasy points. I want some options on what direction we can go there, but bottom line is this. The number 1 passer rated against cover 3 in the NFL is CJ Stroud. Nico and Stroud have murdered zone defense this year, and especially cover 3. They run it at almost a 50% rate. Like they're just zone killers. It's just what they do. And this is a spot I really like for him to go. Player Profiler models him into the 20s this week, and I like that spot. For me, gives me outs, which if you've listened to the show, you've heard me talk about. I want different options. I actually like his passing TDs. I like his passing attempts as well, right? We had 47 last time they played. And again, guys, why do I like this game? I like this game because whoever wins, if Jacksonville loses their end, they're going to be playing. Indy has not been as good on D, and I think this is a Stroud finally healthy week. And I don't want to be tied to any other production. So, right, if he gets his 2 passing TDs and some of his yardage, we have plenty of outs here. So that way, I don't want to bet his passing TDs and he throws 1 pass TD, but he throws for 380 yards. Vice versa, if we bet his yards, but he throws for 4 TDs, but he always throws for 200 because that's all he had to do, we get there as well on points. So we're going to stay there on the points. Pretty straightforward. Just going to throw the old fastball right down the middle here.
Yeah, I like it. And we've done this before with legend of the show, Rachaad White, too, right? He sometimes gets the goal line work. He sometimes Are we back?
Now we're back.
We're back. Okay, my mic is acting up, but it is what it is. No, I like the way you're attacking CJ Stroud, like you had with Rachaad White before, right? Rachaad White, legend of this show, always seems to get the production in some way. So I do think the Texans win this game. I am nervous that it is pretty much a pick'em. It's kind of weird to say that CJ Stroud at this point is a pick'em with Gardner Minshew, but it is what it is. The Texans defense pretty banged up too. But that only helps CJ Stroud, right? If the Texans defense is going to not show up, all the fantasy points for CJ Stroud. So I like this method of attack.
Yeah, I mean, and he showed he could do it. That was the game, right? They were down 28-10 and he came back. So lots of upside here. And I'm just going to do it, man. I really debated, do I just get back on the horse? Do I just go there? I have to. It's principle. He is, you just brought him up, the friend of the show, the man, the myth, the legend, Rachaad White. We're going to go rush receiving yards here. I would go fantasy points as he has them. Again, so this is Tampa Bay wins and they're in. We know if Tampa wins, they're in. They control their own destiny. Doesn't matter what anybody else does. And Carolina's, again, has one of the better pass defenses in the league. However, they are Swiss cheese on the run side. This is a game they're going to be up. I think they're going to be able to get after Baker a little bit. And we know who is the king of the checkdowns in the NFL, Baker Mayfield. So, this is a game. Remember, he broke one for 84 yards in this game. And I want to have those options, right? The last thing we want is a screen out of the backfield with Rachaad. and he gets it, he breaks one for 50 yards, and he only ended up with 70 rushing yards, and we lose on the hook. This gives us both ways. Again, in a game which, if they win, they're in the playoffs. Tampa is highly incentivized to make it, and Rachaad also needs, I believe the number is 74 yards to hit 1,000 rushing yards for the season. I think he's going to break this rush receiving, just rushing. I think he gets to the century mark this week. I think he wants that 1,000 yards on his resume. I think he's going to run aggressive. I think he's going to have a little Pacheco, angry rush in him. But again, I want to attack games that actually matter this week, not where, hey, we really like to get a look at this guy for maybe next season. Or, do I really want to bet on Mason Rudolph? Not really, even though I think Pat has a great spot this week. So I'm just going to keep this simple, short, sweet, to the point. Rachaad, CJ, locking it in for our half unit as usual, and we're gonna sweep the show going into the playoffs.
And I'm going to tail because that's what a responsible co-host does.
Yes.
Rachaad White, the number is 85 rushing yards to reach the century mark. So if the Buccaneers are ahead late in the game and he's maybe 10-ish yards short, they're going to feed him that ball to get to 1,000. I actually think that game is going to be really close. I'm actually on the Panthers against the spread, which is disgusting to say out loud, but we love disgusting around here. And if this game is close, they got to feed the beast. Rachaad White, especially in the passing attack. I like that method of attacking. Thomas Glaze, what up in the chat? Really suggests Zamir White. I absolutely despise everything about this Raiders game, and I'm not going to touch it. But good luck with Zamir White.
They don't even have any Zamir White pick'ems up because they're not going to let themselves get beat by Zamir this week. He's not even up. He's not right. He doesn't even exist right now. It's gross. It's disgusting. And Denver's D has been better this last 2/3 of the season. Like the list of things I would rather do than have a pick'em in that game include licking the floor of a strip club.
Well said. But shout out Antonio Pierce, Major League head coach.
Absolutely. It would be very Raider-esque for them to fumble the bag with him, though.
Yeah. Now, I do actually like this slate a lot. And we've already moved some of the projections. Last night, we uploaded our leans to the Underdog pick generator. Some of these projections have moved. I'm probably going to play a 5-pick for the vibes with a bunch of the stuff that I put up last night of my own. But for the show 2-piece, for a half a unit, putting everything on the line, I'm going to this primetime game because they call me primetime Ahaan. Actually, nobody calls me that. I call myself that. But they call me primetime Ahaan for a reason. It's because I love these primetime games. I produced very efficiently on these primetime games. And I'm going with a little bit of a weird combo. The first one, not as weird. I think a lot of people get on board with Tyreek Hill higher than half a rush plus receiving touchdown. There are only 2 wide receivers in the NFL who have 5+ red zone targets over the last 3 weeks, but no touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, because he's getting the ball thrown to by my grandfather, and Tyreek Hill. He just hasn't had the production in terms of finding the end zone. But this is a regression spot. Who else are they going to get the ball to in the red zone? Raheem Mostert is banged up. He might not even play. Devon Achane also banged up. And Buffalo has only allowed 2 rushing touchdowns since week 10 to running backs anyway. So they're a tough team to run in the ball against. Tyreek Hill is the number 1 guy, arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL, the most valuable wide receiver in the NFL. 6 red zone targets. The volume is always there. Just give me in the divisional matchup, them force feeding it to him in the red zone. He's done it all year long. He's going to do it again against the Bills. The matchup proof, Tyreek Hill. And to pair along with that, we're going to a guy on the Bills. It's not Stephon Diggs because the role has always been uncertain second half of seasons. It's not Dalton Kincaid, even though I know, Trevor, you're waiting for the Dalton Kincaid pick. It's not James Cook because I don't know exactly how he's going to be utilized, and I can't trust the efficiency either with James Cook, not going to lie. It's not Josh Allen because I'm not sure what this Dolphins defense is going to look like either because they've been inconsistent. With all my meat on the table, nuts on the line, give me Dawson Knox over 12.5 receiving yards. This is a line that he's cleared. Essentially, when the game is competitive, they're going to use this man, and it's frustrated a lot of Dalton Kincaid owners, and I'm sure you can attest to that, Trevor. Dawson Knox is very much in this mix. Not only was he a red zone guy early in the year, but even coming back off injury, he's running the routes, and whenever the game is competitive, he's a threat to clear this projection. You look at every single game where Buffalo has been competitive. Week 1 against the Jets, 25. Then it took a long time to play another competitive game, but it took till week 5 against Jacksonville, 6 targets, 17 receiving yards. Then the next competitive game against the Giants, 6 targets, 17 receiving yards. And then he was hurt for a while, but since coming back, the first game back against Kansas City, 3 targets, 36 receiving yards. And then the next competitive game was against the Chargers, 2 targets, 22 receptions, 26 receiving yards. And Miami has been porous against the tight end all season long. This line is too low. He can get this in 1 or 2 catches. He's going to show up, and I'm going to say this right now for bold prediction. Dawson Knox is scoring a touchdown in this game as well, but we'll take the higher than 12.5 receiving yards.
All right, here's what we're doing here. I'm getting crazy. It's week 18. So I'd already planned on doing this, right? So we got a 4-pack right now. And I got a 4-pack lined up, and I want to make it a 5-pack. I'm going to make it, and I'll put it in our Discord for everybody. But here's what I'm going to add. I'm going to stick with that game, and I'm going to go with Josh Allen anytime touchdown higher, rusher receiving. Since Joe Brady took over, Josh Allen has 8 rushing touchdowns. 8. He has 67% of the carries inside the 5-yard line. 17.6% of them have resulted in a touchdown. They're not using Fat Lenny. They're not using Lat. They're not using Cook. They have decided if they get within the goal line, if they're within that 5 yards, Josh is running the ball in. We now have no Jalen Phillips. We have no Bradley Chubb. Xavier might be out. I mean, Miami is going to have a tough time up there. If they get close, they're going to run right over where Chubb was, take advantage of whoever Miami has to plug in there. And in a game which there should be some scoring, even if it's low, I like Allen. They just showed he's going to be their goal line back. Just like DeAndre Swift gets robbed every time he gets close to the goal line, so does James Cook. If they get down there, it's going to be Josh Allen, and I'm going to lock this in for a 5-play.
We like that. The 5 pick going in the Player Profiler Discord, which you can join for free. There's a link in the description of this video. If you're watching this, or if you're listening to this as a podcast later on, don't forget, we're going to be live every Friday for the playoffs as well to cook up these entries. But for week 18, Trevor, you want to once again review your 2-piece.
We're going with CJ Stroud over 17.75 fantasy points. That way we're not tied to one specific thing for him. And we're going with the poster boy for the pick and power hour this year, Rachaad White over 97.5 rush receiving yards. 85 gets him over 1,000. I think he easily gets there receiving wise in a game that if they win, they're in.
I like it. And my 2-piece for also a half a unit. We're going to the Sunday Night Football game. Tyreek Hill higher than half a rushing plus receiving touchdown. And Dawson Knox higher than 12.5 receiving yards. That's essentially, it could be one play for each, right? One bomb to Tyreek, one catch for Dawson Knox. Get in, get out. I think that hits before halftime, and I think that is going to cap off a 4-0 sweep for us. Trevor, it feels somewhat emotional to end this regular season because we're not going to have so many games to go to, but don't cry because it's ending. Smile because it happened and that we are going to take this 4-0 sweep into the playoffs. We're going to dominate every single game. We're simply going to just dominate the underdog boards every week. We're not going to lose a single pick. It's just not – I don't see it happening. So until then, we will see everybody else. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Have a good week 18 building your DFS lineups. For now, we will see you for week 1 of the playoffs next week.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you, allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.